Hello, this is Ian Stewart, and welcome to the People of Earth podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the People of Earth podcast, where we interview the top performers in the New York City world music scene. First and foremost, thank you to everyone who came out to People of Earth's show this past Wednesday, April 11th at Rockwood Music Hall. It's an honor and pleasure to play in front of you, as always. Thank you so much for coming out. There's a bunch of performances coming up in the near future. I'll announce them on the podcast as the dates draw closer. If you're curious about checking them out beforehand, please refer to our website at peopleofearthmusic.com. Also, for those of you who are more prone to following Instagram than anything else, we do have an Instagram page that you can check out. I really should have announced that probably on some earlier episodes. And obviously, you can find this through our website, peopleofearthmusic.com. There's a live Instagram feed there. But for those of you who want to go directly to that, it's POE Music NYC. That's all one word, no hyphens or anything like that. POE Music NYC. So if you're an Instagram person, definitely check us out there. All right, so let's get to this week's episode. We are, of course, resuming our usual programming of interviewing New York-based musicians. And this week we have just one of those people. This week's guest is pianist and composer Coto Pincheira. Coto is actually one of the first musicians I met here in New York, and he's a pianist originally from Viña del Mar, Chile, but he actually lived in Cuba for about 10 years during kind of the height of the timba craze. Of course, I'm talking about during the special period, which is right after the collapse of the Soviet Union, and it also coincided with a big boom in the arts in Cuba during that time, and also resulted in timba music, which is a very, very important music in Cuban culture, particularly modern Cuban culture, and also happens to be the music that a lot of People of Earth's music is based off of. On top of just being in Cuba during this period, Coto actually was a member of one of the most important bands in the development of timba music. I'm talking about Bamboleo. He was actually the keyboardist on the first Bamboleo album and was with that band for a couple of years. And he was also with a couple other important ensembles in Cuba as well at that time. Coto has actually told me this story about his time in Cuba a few times, and I always kind of felt like, I wish I could have written this down or maybe put it in a book or something, make it so other people could actually, hear his point of view and his perspective on that period in Cuban history. So now that I have this podcast, I actually have a chance to record him and to, kind of send his story out into the world. So it's a very, very cool thing for me and hopefully a very cool thing for him and for you. All right, with all that being said, let's get straight to the interview. It is my honor and pleasure to present to all of you my good friend and colleague, Coto Pincheira. Thank you. All right, Coto, thank you for joining us this week.
Thank you for having me, Ian. It's a pleasure to be here.
Definitely. So I would really love you to tell your story. It's a story that I've heard a few times myself, but you have a really unique story of how you ended up living in Cuba for, was it 10 years?
Almost 10 years,
Almost
yes.
10 years, and you were actually there during probably one of the most important periods of the 90s during the special period, and especially like kind of at the beginning of the timba craze when it was just kind of getting started. In fact,
the best part,
definitely
golden age.
The best part. So let's just start it right from there. How did how did traveling to Cuba come about for you, and how did the adventure go after that?
I had a friend from Chile who was actually a drummer who went. He was studying in Cuba for a year or two actually, and he went back to Chile for maybe a month or a couple of weeks just for visiting his parents, just to say hello for vacation. I met with him. He called me. Hey, say, Coto, come over here. I have to show you some stuff that I brought from Cuba, recordings, videos, and stuff like that. I went to see him. Say, hey, man, I was blown away. He was showing me recordings. I don't remember. It was cassettes. It was 93, 92, 93. I don't know if it was cassette tapes or I don't really remember. It was CDs. I'm not quite sure right now. That he had from rehearsals and people playing around, and he just started telling me that I should go to Cuba also and study with great musicians over there. So I was interested in doing that, and the year after, I went to Cuba. I left to Cuba. That's the way it started with a good friend of mine. He gave me the idea.
All right, so so you went to Cuba. What were the early days like there when you first arrived? What was the adjustment?
I arrived
like?
February 13, 1993 at 6:45 a.m.
Wow. Okay. All right. Very specific.
Yeah, very specific. Of course,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have never forgotten that, and I would never do it. No, this is it changed my life, man. It definitely changed my life as a man, as a regular guy, and as a musician. I lived in a country that I was going through so much stuff, but musically it was just amazing. The following day, February 14, was the Jazz Plaza.
Valentine's Day.
Exactly. I even never thought about that. Exactly. The Jazz Plaza started the Jazz Festival, and I was blown away. My friend Fernando, who told me to go to Cuba, took me there. Like I said, was my first day in Cuba, so I didn't know
A friend
exactly.
of yours from Chile.
From Chile, exactly.
Yeah.
He didn't know. I didn't know where to go. I mean, I couldn't even understand Cubans, to be honest with you. The first time that I arrived to this lady's house where I had my first breakfast, I couldn't even have a conversation with them. And we were both spoke Spanish, but it was a completely different dialectal, different everything, man. Even the breakfast was different, but it was like I said, and I will say it again and over again. I think it was one of the best thing that ever happened to me in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, did you go there with the intent of staying there long term?
No. I went with the idea. Actually, I was going to get married in Chile. I don't know if I should say this. Yeah, right.
You can say whatever you want.
Yeah. Well, no. The idea was going for take a course, like a piano course for like a 9 months from March to December, and go back to Chile and then just continue with my career and with my stuff. But a couple months after I was in Cuba already, I knew that I was not going anywhere, man, because I was just blown away. I started taking lessons with so many different piano players, not only at school that was studying, which was Ignacio Cervantes,
Mm-hmm.
but also on the side I was playing and taking lessons with Hilario Duran. I met Gonzalo. I met so many musicians that I always look at them on TV or on radio or on cassette, but having right next to me, talking to me, and be able to basically share some time with them was just like, wow. I was 23, so I couldn't even believe what I was doing. So it was an amazing experience. And not only that, a few months after I arrived to Cuba, basically June, I started working in Tropicana, which is a cabaret, a very famous cabaret. They have this great big band, and they play original Cuban music, like the real deal.
Mm-hmm.
And I was there for 2 years, I have to thank Hilario Duran, who was the one who took me there one night, introduced me to Horacio Gonzalez, which was the musical director at the time of Tropicana, who gave me a chance to actually gave me the book to learn the keyboard first, not the piano, just the keyboard, the synthesizer. There was a great piano player playing synthesizer. There was this girl, forgot her name, very nice girl, and a great musician, by the way. And I started learning song by song until one day I was ready, and I started playing the synthesizer. And then a few months after that, I jumped to the piano. And that's a long story.
And you were, I think you told me that you were the first international to...
The only one.
The only one.
The one played in Tropicana?
Yeah.
The only one. I haven't heard anybody else from outside of Cuba who has ever played in Tropicana.
Yeah.
Maybe there's not one now, but I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think so. And that was an amazing story in so many different ways, man. Because politically, it was something that some people didn't like it. I mean, some people did like it, and because I had a permit to work in Cuba, not just I was a foreign student. I had the work permit as a musician, which is weird because you don't go to Cuba to work as a musician. Normally there's so many musicians there to go. Somebody from the outside into Cuba to work as a musician, you don't see that every day.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
yeah. They're actually there. You don't see that. So and I had the privilege. I would say it was a privilege for me, an honor, to have the permit to work in Cuba as a musician and make money. Actually, receive a salary of 120 pesos a month, and it was approved for so many people. And the way I got the permit, it was collecting letters from major artists in Cuba. Oscar Valdes, Los Pepines, Bamboleo, and the list is long. I don't want to just mention everybody because I know I'm going to forget a lot of people. And I met Ruben Gonzalez, who also helped me with that letter. Frank Emilio.
Okay.
I mean, definitely I had support from a lot of people. And,
Yeah.
And I didn't know the music that well, to be honest with you, until now. I still kind of, there's a mystery that I like to solve before I go to a better life about Cuban music, because it's so much, not only Cuban, it's just the African and, Afro-Cuban experience. And there's so much, man. There's so much that you can need to, too much to learn, and I feel that there's so much that I haven't learned yet, and I want to get to that point.
Huh. Yeah, no, that's very interesting how that all kind of came about, and but what I mean, actually living there, physically living there, what was, especially during that time, what was that like? Because obviously your experience as someone from the outside was obviously a lot different than.
You know what? To be honest, it didn't affect me at all.
Okay.
I swear to God. Like I said, of course, because for the first year I didn't have hot water for the entire year. For example, my first place where I lived, there was no hot water. But period. You want hot water, you need to put the thing on the stove and warm the water there. And so, of course, it was really hot weather over there, like we all know in Cuba. But you know what? I was so in love with music. I was so crazy about what was happening. The musicians were just, I didn't care a bit or anything of those things. Of course, the life was completely different. You got to understand that in Cuba, 1993, there were no electricity for some time, 12, 14, 15 hours. I remember playing in Tropicana. We were in the middle of the show at 9:30, and all of a sudden, boom, no lights, no electricity. And musicians kept playing. The one who has a non-electrical instrument,
right.
And the singer who kept singing. They kept singing, and everybody was standing up and applauding, going crazy. And then all of a sudden, maybe an hour later, the electricity will come back. So the streets were empty. There was no gas. There was nothing. You can see Calle Linea in Havana. There was basically no cars. Basically, just a lot of bikes and stuff like that. No luxury of any way, of nothing. It was just a poor country, but it was so rich in so many different other ways. So me and all the other musicians who were there, and foreign student, and even the same Cuban musicians that I was hanging out with, we're all in a similar situation. Of course, being a foreigner in Cuba has a great thing. It has not so good things. Sometimes people don't get used to you, because they know that you have this possibility of getting out and to Cuba whenever you want.
Right, of course.
And some people, could understand that and felt a little bit different about me or about other people. But you know what? Took me a while to fit in. If I did, I may feel that I didn't do it all the way anyway until today. But I'm glad because there's a group of musicians, a group of people who were definitely took me or accepted me or and gave me job and gave me workmen and gave me so many opportunities to do the work that I actually didn't do the best I could, to be honest with you. I could have done so much better if things were a little different. But just to know that they gave me the chance to work with them.
Right.
And knowing that I was not, I had potential, probably that's what they saw in me, but I just something that I would never be able to thank enough.
Right.
Yeah, basically that's it.
So, when did When and how did Bamboleo fit into all of that? Were you still playing with playing in Tropicana while that was going on? No, that was later.
No, that was later. Actually, it was right after that. In Tropicana, there was an incident that it didn't definitely affect me at all, But it was, well, I don't know. Maybe they're right. After 2 years of working in Tropicana, there was this tour, there was this gira, to Marbella, España, this big thing,
Uh-huh.
And I understand where they're coming from, and I do understand where they're coming from, the reason why I didn't make it over there.
Yeah.
I know that. But at the same time, there's on the other side of my, I was working in Tropicana already for 2 years, every single night. The piano player, who actually was a great friend, who took the time to show me, to teach me all the repertoire and etc., didn't go to Tropicana anymore. He was just he was on vacation. I told him, please don't come, I'm good. I'm here. Don't worry about it. Because for me it was a new thing. Playing Tropicana every single night was like, like, please don't worry. I'm here. Don't worry. And I was doing a good job, I guess. And so I was doing the rehearsal. I was doing the pre-show before the big show in Tropicana. There was little that what they call sopa, which is a little like cocktail music before the big show. Yeah. And I used to play with them too. Danzones, all that kind of stuff.
Great.
Yeah, that was from 8 to 8:45, and the show started at 9. So at 8:45, I have to go to run to the camerino, change my clothes, grab the different book like that. It was a black book like that, horror, like thick, but like a lot of music inside.
Okay.
And run to the orchestra, to the big band, and sit on the piano, and Horacio would be ready to count it off, and the show will start. There's a video that I have to transfer to DVD, or not to DVD, or somehow to something, and put it on Facebook or put it on my website, because it's a great video. Me playing in Tropicana.
Okay.
So yeah, so after that, those 2 years, this tour came for Tropicana for a month or two. I remember everybody was talking about it. It was a big thing. The very first tour, like the Tropicana show, going to Marbella, España. So all the musicians, all the dancers, everybody was wondering who the hell was going to go to the tour, to that tour. And my girlfriend at the time was in the same position. He was part of the Coto. She was the Coto, one of the singers. And she didn't know she was going to make it. So until one day they put a list of everybody who was going to make it to Marbella. And everybody ran to the freaking lobby to see their names. And her name was there. She will make it to the Marbella. And when I go to the orchestra to see my name was not there. They put another piano player who was not even working in Tropicana, Rolando Bueno. Great piano player. But he was not part of Tropicana. So they took me out of the list.
Okay.
The reason, well, we all know the reason. We know I'm from Chile. I don't need to travel anywhere or to make extra money because I'm a foreigner. I don't need that. That's what they're thinking. That was the explanation. Hey, man, you're cool, everything's fine, but we're rather to bring somebody with Cuban person who definitely needs the bread, needs the thing more than you. Right. And I do understand where you're coming from. I understand. It makes sense what you're saying. But I've been basically working my ass off for 2 years here every night and doing the job the best I can, and all of you being happy with my work. I know you gave me a chance and you give me an incredible honor to be with you here. But I'm a worker, so I make money. I make my 120 pesos a month, and I do the rehearsals. I do the whole thing like anybody else. Take me out of the list just because I was not from Cuba, born in Cuba, or I didn't have that need. We can. I don't know. We can. So I didn't agree much. So and I quit. I quit Tropicana. I quit Tropicana, not right away. I stayed there for maybe a month or two while they were on tour. Because there was no other piano player available to do this show. Okay. And I didn't want to be like an asshole and just leave. No, something I could have done actually. But I waited a little bit longer, and after that, I was never forgot, man. Never forgot. I was practicing. I was living in this house in Linea. I had a Steinway grand piano, remember, practicing. I was practicing scales, hand, remember. And all of a sudden I hear on the door or on the window, like really loud. Shit, man. scared me actually, but was very concentrated, playing. Like, what the fuck, man? You're not gonna believe who was Lazarito Valdez, y Luis Papin. Luis Papin is one of the Pepines. I opened the door like. I mean, we never interact before. I knew who they were because I knew them, but I never had any conversation with them. And they said, "Tú eres chileno? You're the Chilean dude?" "Yes, I am." We want to talk to you. Oh shit! Like, what did I do now? I swear to God, just like this, like it's like imagine you're in your house practicing all the sudden you open the door and I don't know Stanley Clark or Feliciano Arango.
Right.
And we want to talk to you. Like, what the hell? So they told me that the story is this. The story is that Bamboleo, before it was called Bamboleo, they were called Mulatas de Fuego. Oh. It was a show that was
okay.
It was Bamboleo with Lázaro was the director, but it was sponsored. I don't know how to say it. For El Tosco, Jose Luis Cortés.
Right. Yeah.
He was basically the main thing of that project. And El Tosco and Lazarito had some kind of differences or some kind of problem, and they split. And they didn't have any instrument. They didn't have any instrument to play. Tosco took everything. It was his stuff, and then said goodbye. And this guy knew that there was a Chileno dude who loved to play piano, who was into Cuban music, was crazy about this Cuban thing going on in the 94, 95, who had a brand new piano, the piano that you saw in this picture, the piano that I just showed you, it was the RD500.
Okay, yeah, electric.
The electric, was the very first one. The very first RD500 that there was. I need to.
Yeah, you're in airplane mode.
Yeah, because I was the first one bringing an RD500 to Isaac. Everybody recorded with that piano.
Oh, okay.
Everybody. Many of their Charanga Habanera songs, many of the songs it's my piano sound in the recordings. Giraldo Piloto went to my house to pick up the piano one day to have a show and said, "Man, can I use your piano? I'll bring it back."
Gotcha. Yeah? So you would like rent it out to them or
not rent it out. No, rent it out. No, just friends. Just take it.
Yeah.
There's no renting or no money involved in any of those situations.
Okay.
Cuba doesn't work like money. There's money. This is not something that we never saw money in. And I never charged for anything. Unfortunately, it was something that I never agree with. The Cubans, which was very insulting, were very demeaning, was very fucked up, to be honest with you, that they couldn't go into certain places, like certain restaurants or certain marketplaces, which were just for foreign people.
Right. Yes.
They could not go in.
They couldn't go in.
They couldn't go in.
And they couldn't have American currency.
No, exactly. So
or was it any foreign currency?
Well,
it was just American currency that they couldn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and of course, it was not from there. So I could go inside. Could go in and many times, I would say 100 or if not 1,000 of times, I bought stuff for them.
Right.
And many people will charge for doing that. Especially Russian people who were already living in Cuba for many years.
Right.
They will charge Cuban for doing that. Oh, can you go to the market and buy me this shit? So yeah, I'll charge you $5. Okay.
Right.
I never did that in my life.
Okay, all right.
I would go in there and would whatever they want. They were my friends. If they were my friends, were friends of my friends. But I would never. There was sometimes they would invite me to eat a sandwich or something. Oh, let's go. Why not? I was living just like that, But that was the story with Bamboleo. So they asked me. They show up in my house. We had a little conversation. Say, I know that you love this music, man. I know that you have a piano. Would you like to play with us, Bamboleo? We just need you to use your piano and you play synthesizer. I said, well, Lázaro, done. When we start, and basically I started. Basically, the same week we started rehearsing with Bamboleo.
Okay.
So I gave him the RD500. I had what my other keyboard was. I don't know, it was that. No, it was not that one. I don't have the keyboard. I don't remember right now what keyboard it was, but it was another synthesizer that I had in Cuba by the time. And that's the way. Well, you can go to the video clip where I'm playing with Bamboleo. Have you seen it?
I've seen one of them.
Where I am.
Yeah. You showed it to me. Yeah.
That's a keyboard that I was playing.
Oh, okay.
And that's the way it started with Bamboleo. That was started with Bamboleo. So I say yes. Right away.
How long was that?
How long was Bamboleo? Probably a couple of years, man. I don't remember exactly.
Couple of years, like 2 years.
Couple of years, yeah. Until Bamboleo had the first
problem. Because you did. You recorded Te
Te gusto, te caigo bien.
Right. And then, and it's a different personnel on the album after that. Yeah,
you know why, right? You know the story why.
No, not really. Well, yeah, I do. Kevin Moore and I have talked about it, but I always forget.
No, the story of Bamboleo, band leaders in Cuba sometimes go a little crazy, and Lázaro was not exception. He went a little crazy, did some things on his own without counting with us, and everybody else got mad at him. And so we took him to the empresa, Benny More, which was the empresa where we all belonged. You understand that?
What do you mean?
In order for you to be a musician and have a band in Cuba, you need to belong to an empresa, to a company,
union.
like a union.
Yeah, like a union.
There are many unions in Cuba. It's not a union. Many? Yeah, there are many of them.
Like an agency.
It's like an agency. We call company an empresa. There's an empresa Benny More, which is for popular music. There's la empresa de concierto, which was just for Latin jazz and jazz music, like your introductions. Okay. For some music was the many one. Okay. Bamboleo belonged to Benny More. The president of that company was Changuito.
Really?
Yeah. Nice. Ismael Quintana.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. So we took in Lázaro, took Changuito, say, hey man, this guy is going a little crazy out of his way, and we want like something. And that's the reason why we split the first time. The only person who stayed with Lázaro were the two girls, Vania and Jaila.
Right.
But the rest of the band.
Right, it's all different people on the second album.
That's why. That's when Sello LA was born.
Yeah, because the Abreu brothers went and did that.
Exactly.
Yep. Now I'm all pieces.
The 90s, man. The 90s. People. I don't know. I said this to you before, and take it to me. The 90s. Within Cuban music and timba music, we already talked about what we think about timba music. But if you really want to play that music correctly. Anybody, not you, not me, anybody who wants to do that music, who wants to learn those tumbao, those syncopated things, those cross-clave things, all this craziness, rhythmic craziness, because that's what people are interested in. Harmony is always there, but the rhythm is very different, very challenging in times, If you don't go to that era, those 10 years of music, or a little more than 10 years, man, you definitely are lost. You definitely will never make it as a timbero or somebody who can play or interpret the music correctly. And I see a lot of people here in the U.S., with all due respect, who never took seriously or never really did a deep, profound work on those 10, 12 years of music. But that is as important as Arsenio Rodriguez on the 20s, on the 30s.
Right.
If you want to play Son Montuno, you haven't been there in that era, you're definitely not playing nothing. You might be playing some stuff, but definitely you don't know, you don't understand the roots, stuff like that. For timba music, that era is just something that, it's a golden age. You need to definitely understand all what happens there. This is very, very,
well, that was, personally, that was those three albums, those first three albums of Bamboleo, that was my introduction to timba. Period. Those were the albums that I transcribed from. Those were the albums that I learned from. Mainly because those were the first that were introduced to me from a friend of mine. But I agree with you. I agree with you.
Yeah, those years were, and like I said, for anybody who, what happened here sometimes, we talked about this before. You want to play timba music. It's like cooking. You want to eat certain rice or certain things. You need the specific. You need spices. You need the right thing in order to make it taste the right way. And if you haven't been there, if you haven't really studied that music, those piano players or those bass players, percussion, of course, has a lot to do with it. Of course, they break stuff. Now the marcha is the marcha. La marcha. Clave, cáscara es clave, but the breaks and all those things has a lot to do with the, with that style of music. But particularly, the rhythm section has a lot of work, a lot of syncopation who need to be understood, in the right way. The accent, how, I don't know, man. I think for me, it's a very important 10, 12 years of music that people need to study deeply.
Yeah, no doubt. So let's see.
And sorry about that. And sorry about something. And that's why there's so many young piano players, who don't. Some of it they do, some of they do, but not the majority. They don't go. They fake it pretty well, or they fake it a certain way, but they don't really do the right thing for the, because it's like playing a wrong montuno from Arsenio Rodriguez. You know, it's just, I don't know. It's something that sometimes I will definitely say to people to be more respectful and more serious about learning that music, because that music is very, very difficult to understand. And if you haven't done the right homework, you just not doing it right. Just a little comment on that. Yeah, man. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we correct me if I'm wrong, but in the timeline wise, we're still only about halfway through your time in Cuba.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what happened
After that?
After Bamboleo, yeah. Because I actually don't think I know. I think like when you've told me about it, it's always kind of stopped there.
After that, well, when we had this issue with Bamboleo, I received a call from. Actually, I did an audition. I don't know how the hell I knew about the audition. Somebody told me. I don't remember who the hell it was. But I did receive a call. Somebody told me about Diakara was looking for a piano player. Diakara. Diakara is a group from Oscar Valdes.
Okay.
Oscar Valdes was the singer and one of the band leaders. He's not the band leader, but he was kind of the right hand of Chucho Valdez.
Okay.
They're not family. They're just coincidentally have the same last name. And he was a singer of Diakara. And, well, Oscar left Diakara and put this group together, this band together with his son, Oscarito Valdez, who was my brother for so many years, who passed away not too long ago. And Diakara was a Latin jazz group. Amazing group, man. Amazing group that unfortunately never made it. Never made it. No, never made it. And I know the reason, but I don't know if I should say the reason.
Who's in that?
Oof, there were a lot of people in there in that group. I wouldn't be able to mention everybody, but when I was there, I mean, everybody was in that group. That group has been forever. A lot of famous artists were there. A lot of awesome musicians from Cuba were there. But when I was there, it was Livan Montoya, and saxo was Haruhiko Kono. I'm a Japanese dude playing minor percussion. Oscar Valdez. It was Jacek Manzano, the guy who I showed you before the picture. Oscarito, of course, was El Quinto, for his name, playing conga, who was also from Pocolotti. And myself, of course, and Alfredo Echeverria playing bass, who was the bass player of Isaac for a little while after that. Alfredo Echeverria, a walking metronome. He was a walking metronome. I never seen a guy who was such a timing man.
No,
this guy was. You put him wherever you put him, this guy will not move him. This is. I don't know, man. I was lost already, especially with Oscarito solos, who were like, like, who the hell are you? Where the hell are you, man?
Yeah.
He was just
keep it there.
Keep it there. He will not move, man. He was an amazing timing. His timing is just amazing. So that was part of the band. We're like 13, 14 people, man. Batas, 4 or 5 horns.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, that's
4 congas. Oscarito with his humongous drum with double bass drum and octapad. No, man. That was something. It was like a train. No, that was,
playing jazz.
Playing Latin jazz.
Yeah.
Latin jazz.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah. There was, and I spent with, basically that was the jobs that I did for the entire time after that, because I stayed with them for like almost 5 years.
Okay.
Then Diakara not split, but there was not so much work for the entire band. I think I don't want to talk too much about it and mention names, because I don't think it comes for me to say it. But I would say this: Diakara had its own embargo, I would say. Mm-hmm. Because it was blocked basically from doing things from certain people that I don't like to mention their names.
Okay, yeah.
But some people were very jealous about that band, because that band was something else. But some people who were on the top of the game when it comes to who's going to tour around the world and stuff like that, closed the door for that band. Yeah, that band never made it. We went to France one day, for how long? Literally 24 hours. We left on Wednesday. We'll play on Thursday night. We were back on Friday. That was what Diakara has ever done in all these years. Somebody closed the door on them, and every rehearsal that we used to rehearse 5-6 times a week. Every single day we were rehearsing at the Jesus Menendez. It's a theater in Pogolotti, Havana. from of those 5, 6 rehearsals, at least 3 or 4 that will go. People will go. People from other countries, agents and stuff like that. See the group, see the band to take us somewhere. Everybody was blown away. Everybody wanted to take us somewhere. But when we start doing the papers, and start doing all the things, closed doors. Somebody will close the door on this guy.
Weird.
Yeah. It's not weird. I know why. But I don't just. But yeah, but that was unfortunate. That's an unfortunate situation for Diakara, because it was definitely a group that Oscar put together with Oscarito mainly and Livan Montoya.
But you guys obviously played live in Cuba itself all the time.
Yeah, but you know that 95, 96, 97 is not what you want. You need to travel. You need to go outside. You need to make some money, real money. In Cuba, was no money at the time. We wanted to travel. We wanted to go and play some other places.
Right.
Because the band that definitely deserved that thing, because it was a great band. I mean, that was like and actually, there's a CD that we recorded that was never released.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a CD that we recorded at Pablo Milanesa Studios. I don't even have this. I don't even have the CD, and I know some of the tracks are on YouTube, and me playing.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Tebere, for example. There's many songs. It was never released. That band was basically people closed the door on that band, and that's really sad, actually.
So that's the band that you kind of
end up. Yeah, but after that, Oscarito put his own quintet.
Okay.
Oscarito, the drummer, without his father. Just from the 13 people that we used to be, we reduced it to 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Something like that. Jacek Manzano, Livan Montoya, El Negrón, Mario Hernández. Mario Hernández? You saw him as El Negrón, no?
Yeah.
The tumbador from Diakara, one of them. Was playing congas at the time. And Oscarito and myself. And Alfredo Echeverría also. You were doing basically Zorra y el Cuervo, which is, Zorra y el Cuervo?
No.
It's a jazz club in Havana. Zorra y el Cuervo and Jazz Cafe.
Okay, yeah.
Which is another.
Yeah. That's still there, right?
It's still there. Both are still there.
Both are still
there. Yeah. And we used to do that basically almost every night, man. We used to play Zorra y el Cuervo 3-4 times a night. A week. And the other 3 days we were at the Jazz Cafe. I mean, the band was all over the place in Cuba, man. Because it was a great band. I mean, nobody could have denied it. I mean, the music was amazing. The players were awesome. I mean, it was just an incredible band who deserved to travel and go everywhere. But people closed the door on them. Or us, I should say.
So when did you decide to finally leave?
2001, man. I have this gig with Frank Rubio. You know who's Frank Rubio, now the bass player?
Yeah. He was with Bamboleo at one point, too.
He was with Bamboleo at one point,
and he was also
with Pablito Fejel.
Right, yeah, he was with
Pablito Fejel. So...
Yeah. Whatever happened to him?
Huh?
Whatever happened to him?
Man. No clue.
Because he's not in Cuba anymore.
Man, he was hell house. I don't know.
True.
I have no idea.
True.
But, yeah, man. So, like I said, Oscarito was doing his own thing, too, because he knew that, like I said, the 90s were a very tough time for everybody in Cuba. Everybody was going crazy musically. There was the best music you can see or you can hear was in Cuba in the 90s. Not just timba music, but Latin jazz. Piano players were going crazy. I mean, it was just just amazing. The atmosphere that were in Cuba those years, man. Everybody was broke as hell. Everybody had nothing. But they have so much interest in playing music. So it was all that. Nobody was like pretending to be some. No. It's just all about the music, playing great music. And you were, you just need to play good. If you're a good player, you were like, good. But, but in the 99, 98, Oscarito, I feel that he was a little bit exhausted and doing the same thing without being able to really travel other places or putting his music out there, and he got this call to play in Ecuador with his trio quartet. The piano player who was going to make it was going to be Emilio Morales, who was going to be the piano player who was going to do that gig. Right. Emilio couldn't make it at the last second. He called me, and I knew that the end of my, living in Cuba is coming to an end. Because all the things were happening in Cuba, I was broke as hell too. I was 30, 31 years old, 32 or 33, something like that. And I wanted to come to New York. I wanted
It's
to come
funny
to
how
New
you-
York, and it was time for me to just, just leave. I mean, nobody really wants to leave Cuba, but the situation, you have to. If you had the chance to do it, you have to because.
Well, you could have left at any time that you wanted, though, right?
Huh?
You could have left at any time that you wanted.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was in love in Cuba, and besides, I got married there.
Yeah, right. That's right.
But I was my country. For me, was part of me. I mean, besides, I got there when I was really young, 23. So
Yeah.
I experienced so much,
Mm-hmm.
not only in the music part, but also as a human being. Thinking thoughts and beliefs and stuff like that, and other way to think, a little bit more settled, a little bit more humble. And I enjoyed every minute of it. I wish I could have become better, be a better musician, a better piano player, because I lost so many chances of learning the right way. I mean, I did learn a lot of stuff, but I feel that I could learn and got to the point where I always wanted to be much faster if I would have been more consistent and more serious, more mature, and etc. 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 But yeah, that was an awesome experience, man. That was an experience. I met incredible people. I met basically all the piano players who are not here anymore. I met every single of them, and I have to say, I took lessons from them, like Ruben Gonzalez, for example, Frank Emilio, who are those two institutions in the music, right?
Right.
Without counting all the other musicians who we all know already, Chucho, Gonzalo, Hernan Lopez Nusa,
Right, yeah.
Tony. Well, Tony's for my generation. Tony. Tony Perez.
Yeah. He was one of the first people I met, actually. I met him in Chicago.
Tony, for me, like I said, it's hard for me to say this, but Tony to me is one of the most complete musicians that I have met in Cuba. As a piano player, if I have to choose one piano player,
you're not the only person to say that too.
No,
there's a lot of people that say
if I have to choose one piano player without counting Gonzalo, without going that route,
Right.
No, I have to choose just one. If somebody just say one, not two, you can say one. I would say Tony Perez.
Yeah.
Tony is a piano player who is an amazing piano player because he was much more ahead of his own time, than anybody else. Even some people don't recognize it in Cuba, but that's their problem. But that's the reality. We all know that. Whoever says something else, just talking shit. This is true. I mean, I know Rolando, I know Ivan, I know everybody else. And they're awesome. They're incredible musicians, like Ivan. You know Ivan? Melon?
Yeah, of course.
Jesucito, Chuchito. But Tony had the whole package, man. Tony would play tumbao like nobody else. Tony would play jazz like nobody else.
Right.
Tony would play boleros or chachas or Latin jazz like nobody else. I mean, his composition, his arrangement, his view, no doubt. He's definitely an incredibly complete musician. Yeah, definitely.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So when you left, did you go back to Chile first?
No, I went to California.
That's right.
Los Angeles.
You went to LA and then went to San Francisco.
And then went to San Francisco, yeah. My family is from Los Angeles, and I met this guy in Cuba, Sandor Moss, great friend, who was studying with Changuito, actually. He was studying with Changuito, timbal, drums. And I introduced to him this girl, and they ended up getting married. And then he's from San Francisco. They moved together to San Francisco, and I stayed in Cuba for 2 or 3 more years, something like that. But they used to call me every single time. They felt that I put them together, basically. They met because of me, so they felt that we were friends. They used to call me sometimes, once in a while. Hey, Coto, man, when are you done? You should come to San Francisco. You're gonna make some money, much money here, man. I'll introduce you to everybody. And they would constantly call me for the thing. And I want to come to New York. That was my plan. Come to New York. No, California. Nothing wrong with California. Just want to come to New York. But these two were calling me so much, and I had friends, I have family in Los Angeles, so I said, you know what, let's give it a try. So when I left Cuba, I went to Los Angeles for a little while, and then Sander went to pick me up, actually, to Los Angeles.
He came to Los Angeles
to pick me up, and then his truck, yeah. With my pianos and the whole thing.
Oh, okay.
And we drove back to San Francisco. The next day I was gigging. If not the same day, the next day I was already playing. Yeah, but he knew everybody already in San Francisco.
Right.
He knew every single people, so he introduced me to everybody. That was so easy, so I have to thank him, and I still do, actually. About that, and so I developed my career a little while in San Francisco for 6-7 years. Something that I appreciate so much. Every single musician, awesome musicians in San Francisco, man. Awesome musicians in San Francisco.
Still are.
Yeah, they still are. Like I said, I don't want to mention names because I know I'm going to forget a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's okay. But the Bay Area has an incredible amount of musicians, incredible amount of awesome musicians. And well, there was a point that I felt that like I still want to come to New York, because for me it was a mystery, this place, and I knew that I was going to be tough, I was going to have to keep on practicing, keep on studying, and pursuing my dream. Here I am.
Wow.
Yeah, 6-7 years in San Francisco, now 8 years in New York.
It's been 8 years here.
Almost a year, 10,
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, okay.
In July will be to 8 years. Yeah. But it was an incredible experience, man. Incredible experience.
Well, yeah. Well, thanks for telling us about that.
No, man. Thanks to you for
I mean, whenever I hear you tell the story, I learn something new. So.
And trust me, I'm telling you for a little something. There's so much that I can tell you, man. So many experiences, so many moments, man. So many moments. Just the first day, the second day that I was there with this jazz festival, I started the Jazz Plaza. That was something that I was just blown away. I mean, all of a sudden I'm watching Chucho Valdez, Chico Farrell, Hernan Lopez, Gonzalo Rubalcaba, all these incredible bands. Like, what is this, man?
Right.
Like,
well, I thought you're also right too. I mean, when that age that you went there is also a very important time. When you're really starting to get an idea of who you are, but you don't really know who you are yet, and which,
right.
Those are because that's about the same time that's about the same age that I went to Chicago, and I look back on that experience in kind of a similar way, because you are kind of super wide-eyed and taking everything in, so.
Yeah, that was a great thing, man. It was a very great experience. I will do it again. I will just change my learning thing. I will just try to do it better. Yeah.
Well, not to dwell on the past, but. Yeah. Anyway, so for everybody that's listening, where can they find you online? Do you have a website at the moment?
CotoPincheira.com. CotoPincheira.com.
Yeah, and I know you at least have one album as a leader.
One album, yeah.
Yeah.
And we're working on a new one.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
So, where can they purchase that?
Everywhere. Basically online, just
iTunes,
man. I just put De Sonido Moderno Project, Modern Sound Project, my name, and you'll find it right away, man. You'll find it right away.
All right, cool.
If not, call me. You call me and let me know. I'll get you one.
Well, either way, they can contact you on
Definitely.
Your website. Okay,
Facebook,
awesome.
Whatever the hell.
All right, on behalf of the People of Earth podcast, I want to thank you.
Thank you, Ian Stewart,
for your time with us, and
yeah. We'll be until next time.
Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed that interview with Coto Pincheira as much as I did. Again, if you're looking for any information on Coto, you can refer to his website at cotopincheira.com, and there will be a link for that in the blog post for this podcast episode on my website, ianstewartbass.com. For those of you interested in the music that I've been playing in this particular podcast episode, I'm using clips from Coto's solo album, the Sonido Moderno Project, and of course all information on that can also be found on his personal website, cotopincheira.com. Once again, on behalf of People of Earth and myself, Ian Stewart, I'd like to thank you guys for checking out this podcast every week. It's always great to see all the downloads coming in each and every week, and of course, it's always an honor and a pleasure to see people at our live shows as well. As always, if you want to find out more information on myself and People of Earth, you can visit our respective websites, my own website at ianstewartbass.com, as well as People of Earth's website at peopleofearthmusic.com. Thank you as always for listening, and see you on the next one.